All right, well, welcome to this week's podcast. I have the privilege of having firefighter, paramedic David Langley with the city of Urbandale on. So this week we're going to get to know David and what he does and also get into a little bit about home safety. So David, welcome to this week's podcast.
No, Jason, thanks for having me.
All right, you're
what a privilege it is to be here.
That's right. Well, earlier, a few weeks ago, we had Santa on. So I think Santa is the most prestigious person we've had on so far, but wow. You're up there right now. You're top tier, so welcome.
To even be considered in the same realm, that is very kind of you. Very
right.
Humbling.
That's right. All right, David, tell us about yourself. Where are you from, and what's been your career path to where you're at today, and tell us a little bit about your family.
Yeah, Jason, I'm married, have 3 kids, 3 sweet boys. I've kind of been a little bit all over the Midwest. Grew up in Illinois, lived in Minneapolis for a little while.
Oh, okay.
Came down to the Des Moines area after college, and that's kind of how I got into my career path. And didn't initially set out to be a firefighter paramedic. Wanted to go into radio broadcasting, but things just didn't work out. God had a different plan for me. I had a little bit of interest in emergency medicine, so I became an EMT, and then quickly through that career path I found out if I wanted to do that, I needed to get into the fire service. Got in, realized I really enjoyed being a firefighter, wanted to further my education medically too, so I became a paramedic, and really just landed a sweet gig.
Yeah,
and it's definitely probably the best job I could have. I think. I mean, there are few other jobs that you can make an impact on other people's lives daily when they think they're having an emergency, whether it's the end of the world or not. It makes a big difference, and you can put a smile on an old lady's face just by holding her hand when she's not feeling well. So definitely love what I'm doing, and very thankful to have a sweet job.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So, yeah, I mean, you think about your profession. I didn't really think about it that way, but yeah, just the daily impact you can have on people. And I think the few times that we've had a call, it hasn't turned out to be a real emergency.
Yeah.
But in that heat of the moment, just to have caring and competent and professional people to rush to your house is quite a comforting thing to have, you know. So, yeah, there's very few jobs. Yeah, you're right. I mean, thank you for doing that, because a lot of people don't want to rush into an emergency, you know.
Yeah, I mean, of course, I love it. So,
yeah.
I mean, it's why we do what we do, because we love it.
That's big time. So currently, let's kind of get into what does your daily shift look like? So when do you time in, time out, and what do you do during that time?
Yeah, man, great question. So we work 24-hour shifts, and then we have 2 days off. So technically we start at 7 a.m., but I typically get there 6:30. A lot of people get there early, so if the off-going shift gets a late call, you're there to help them out. Guys make breakfast, eat that real fast, and then we kind of check our trucks, get them squared away, make sure everything's in good working order. So make sure the trucks are running. That's obviously pretty important. Make sure the equipment on there is in good shape and is working right. And then from there, we have chores. I mean, it's just we call it, it's obviously a firehouse, fire station. We live there for the day, so we'll make sure it's clean. We get all that out of the way. And then we typically spend 1 to 2 hours every day training.
Oh, okay.
So we'll do some sort of fire skill training, or maybe we do some sort of emergency medical training where we have some medical dummies that we practice on, essentially, and go through different situations and scenarios we may be in. And then on top of that, we also do fire inspections for commercial properties to make sure they're squared away. We help old people with smoke detectors and battery changes, stuff like that. And we also try to do physical training during the day too. So in and amongst those different tasks and ongoing projects that we may have with different things, I take care of cot maintenance, so our cots for our ambulance, things like that, or certain people are assigned making sure the air packs are serviced regularly. So in between doing all those things, then there's obviously when people call 911. And for our city, we probably average about 15 to 20 calls a day, and that's between 2 fire stations currently We have a third one that's being built, almost done, hopefully done very soon. But
Yeah.
Anyways, so with all that, you got all those things to take care of during the day. You got the emergencies to go on, and yeah, I mean the schedule is never the same, obviously, because of those things. But we try to start the same routine, make sure everything's squared away at the beginning of the day, so as the day goes on, we know we have what we need and it's ready to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a lot of different things, and I imagine a lot of those things. There's emergency right away, then you go take care of that. You get back to the office or back to the station, and you just kind of chip away at the other things.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah, that would be. That'd be. I like the variety in my business, but I think the variety you deal with is at a totally different level than what I'm dealing with. So
it's a fun variety. Like right now, with it getting colder, and this can also get into the safety aspect too.
Yeah.
But we'll do ice water training, which means we have these special Mustang suits that we put on, and we actually go out to a local pond. We get into the water, practice removing someone from the water.
Oh, wow.
Heaven forbid someone falls through, but that's something to keep in mind this time of year, especially right now with the temperature fluctuating so much. Ice on our ponds and lakes is not very stable right now, so you just want to be careful, especially if you have little kids running around playing outside, or the preteen, teenage kids that like to be a little more crazy, or even your pet. That's some situations we've gotten into where someone's pet goes out there, they go try to get it, or the dog falls through, or so just keep that in mind. But that's a fun training. We like training. We hope we don't actually have to use that, but it's good to know that we're competent.
Yeah, there was was it locally, or it might have been a national story, but a police officer saw a vehicle submerged, and within the last couple of weeks, and he broke the back of the window, and I mean it's like literally the car was submerged, and she just had very little time to live. I mean basically to live. So that's crazy.
That's happened around here too.
Oh,
we had one last year in Urbandale that someone had a medical emergency, ended up in a pond in their car, and it was so cold, the cop tried to help, but he froze up because the water was so cold. So then our fire guys did their thing, and they safely got the cop out and the victim out. And, it was a happy story at the end of the day, thankfully.
Yeah, that would be...
It was a pretty neat save, and that's why we train the way we do, though.
Yeah, that would be, I think, most people's worst fear. One of the top fears probably is to be submerged in water in your car.
I can see that. Sure.
I know for me, driving, there's a lot of worst case scenarios, but that would be one of the horrific things to think about. But that's I drive 25,000 miles a year, so I have a lot of drive time thoughts. So what is the organizational chart within the fire station? How does that work, like from the bottom tier all the way up, so to speak?
So we have entry-level firefighters, or probationary firefighters, I guess is what you call them. That's kind of the lowest level, so they're new hires, and they're on probation for the first year of their career. And then from there, you essentially have your more senior firefighters, so just anybody with experience of greater than a year, to guys that have 5 to 10 years of experience that are ground level firefighters. Then kind of within that, you also have driver engineers, which is the first promotional opportunity, but not necessarily, you're not the officer, you're not really managing other people, you're just kind of a lead mentor, so to speak. And I recently got promoted to that position, so it's pretty fun for me, pretty new. Then above that, you have either a lieutenant or a captain, which I guess technically the captain's a little bit higher than the lieutenant in our organizational structure, but they would be the one that makes the decisions on the fire truck. They sit in the right front seat, called the officer seat. They're in charge of that crew and also that station for the day. And then the captain, who fills that same role, is also in charge of that entire shift. So we operate in 3 different shifts because you have someone on for 24 hours and then on for 48. And then above them would be assistant chiefs. They have a a wide variety of administrative things that they take care of. One is like the training chief, one is our medical chief essentially, one is our operations chief. He makes decisions on how we work our operations, what we do at a fire ground or on a car crash or at an EMS scene. And then we have above them the chief. He's the boss. He makes all the big decisions at the end of the day. He's the one that handles really all the big administrative stuff with the city and the city council and all the stuff tied in with that.
Yeah.
We have no idea what they do, but they do a lot with that. But it's just kind of their thing. Yeah,
making sure that you guys are taken care of.
Yeah.
And I imagine too some of the new stations being built, and just making sure the fire department's got everything they need.
Yeah, and they do a good job of making sure the administrative stuff doesn't really affect us too much, so we can do our job. And it's kind of, they take care of it in their offices, and so things can run smoothly on our side.
Yeah. So how? This might be really hard to measure, but maybe I just say this. In the last year, have you gone to a fire within the city of Urbandale where it was a total loss? Like at a house, is that a very common thing, or is it more of a contained fire?
Well, it really depends. A lot of so Urbandale has two unique sides of the city. So it has the east side, which is older, more traditional built homes where it's solid dimensional lumber. And then you have, pretty much from, just rough 100th Street West is going to be all, newly fabricated homes. So they're just built differently and not with full dimensional lumber. So I think within the last year, I don't think we had a total loss fire, but 2 years ago we had Plumwood Terrace apartment or condominiums apartments. I mean, that unfortunately is a total loss, and that whole building just has to get rebuilt. So it does happen, but in obviously newer construction homes, they burn faster and they burn hotter, so you have more damage, unfortunately, even if we can get there really fast. Thankfully, we haven't had too many total losses in our city.
Seems like from the new construction side of things, that's why the wiring and every step of the way as you build a new house, sometimes people get annoyed by the building permits, but all of that's safety, safety for not only for resale, so to speak, but it's really safety for the homeowner.
Well, and I don't want to say that to scare people away from new homes.
Oh, not at all.
But it's just how construction has changed, especially the cost of lumber and stuff like that. I mean, homes are equally as safe and strong and secure, but they're just built differently.
Just different. Yeah, you got to have teams that really are specialized. Just like in the industry, you need to have people that know how to, just pragmatically lead and have strategies in place. So in regards to like daily activities, how often do you deal with car accidents? Is that probably one of your more common things, or are you more house fires? How does that?
So the majority of our job is the EMS side of things. We're like 80% emergency medical services, 20% fire. In and amongst that 80% though would be car crashes. That's the side it would fall underneath. You could probably say a car crash happens every day. One with any sort of even moderate to significant injuries, not that frequent at all. Hopefully once a month, if that. We don't want to wish that upon anybody by any means, but it does happen. Especially this time of year, anytime you get a light snow, we can almost guarantee that we'll be going out for a car crash. Just because of road conditions. So, or even rain. I mean, it doesn't even have to be snow. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, sometimes torrential downpours seems like in June it's been kind of a common thing like the last few years. I mean, it can get pretty intense. So how do you see a lot of different things, good and the bad, so how do you stay encouraged in this industry? Well, the neat thing about the fire service is that it's really like a second family, because this is a group of guys and gals that I work with every third day. So you form a bond, and that's cool. So you can kind of decompress and work through that together, which is neat. Kind of having some peer support is very important. And, kind of mental health issues in the fire service is kind of like a new thing. It's a hot topic right now in terms of, if there's something going on, just talk about it, get it out there. If you need help, get help. There used to be a stigma that it was a sign of weakness, but now it's like, okay, like, it's all right to be humble, and it's all right to share your weakness, because we don't want, at the end of the day, something terrible to happen to that firefighter.
Yeah.
So we work through that as a crew. For me personally, my wife is very loving and encouraging, so it's nice to just be able to talk to her. I don't go into full details of things sometimes because my wife is sometimes the guts and the gore she's not a huge fan of, but that helps. And then, for me personally too, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ, so that's something that's really big for me, and that's a very healthy outlet for me, is to just go to God and ask for His help. And I have some good brothers in the Lord that do a great job of encouraging me too when I'm down, especially with difficult things at work. So, all that, I feel very fortunate that at this point in time I have a pretty good support structure in place. And I think a lot of the guys that I work with have similar kind of things, and that's kind of how we work through those together with family. For me, faith is a big aspect of that.
I think a lot of times, from the public's perspective, we get so focused on our, on our jobs and our family, but and then we just kind of assume that, oh, you're a police officer, you're trained, or you're like yourself, a firefighter, paramedic, like you're trained, you're just doing your job, whatever. But what's different between those industries compared to my industry is you're dealing with life and death sometimes. And I think it's important as a community that we recognize that and think, yes, you're trained for it, and yes, this is something you enjoy, but there is realities, that are hard to, or that you have to stay encouraged, to kind of keep moving forward. And when we had Ernesto on, he talked about how when there's a crime or suspicion of crime, he rushes into it. And where you guys come in, when there's a health and safety issue, or a health issue between fire or like a medical emergency, you're the first ones there to, and that's such a tremendous service and a tremendous help to our community. So I think it's really important as a community to do that. So this will kind of segue to next question. So pragmatically, as a person, as a resident of Central Iowa, how can we as Des Moines people, show support to the firefighters? But like, what's meaningful to you guys?
Well, I think just like anything, and first and foremost, we don't really, we aren't asking for the community's recognition absolutely. By any means, but people definitely go above and beyond. Even just saying thank you is great. Holidays are obviously big time that people drop off baked goods, and kids want to bring us homemade stuff, and that's great. We love that. That really does encourage us and put a smile on our face. So I'm not saying you have to flood all fire stations with food or anything like that, or cookies, but those small things do make a big difference and make us feel appreciated. But even just saying, thank you for helping, that goes a long way. And it could just, doesn't even have to, you didn't even have to be seriously hurt in a car crash, if you're in a little fender bender and we came out because, some of the fluids of the car got on the ground, just saying, thanks. But you don't even have to. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you're not seeking it or seeking recognition. You guys are here to serve, and that's what you're doing. And I think some people like myself and a lot of other friends, it's like we do recognize and are compelled by the service, but sometimes it's like more focused on the people that do feel compelled to show support.
Yeah.
Those are some good insights on how to do that. So,
sure.
So cops, they like donuts. That's what I've heard. Is there anything that firefighters are stereotypical known for?
We like fruits and vegetables. We like to stay healthier, so any sort of fruit or veggie platter.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, any baked goods. We don't care. Anything's great.
Yeah.
We love treats. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great.
They'll get eaten.
Yeah. No, that's big time. So, what are some common misconceptions that there's shows out there about and movies about paramedic and also firefighting? Is there any negative misconceptions people might have or anything like that?
A lot of things are very dramatized in TV and cinema, so probably one of the big ones is when you're actually in a fire, in a movie or TV, it's like it appears crystal clear and you can see the fire. Well, a part of combustion is that there's smoke happens from the fire, and it's actually, you can't see very well at all. So that's a huge myth that movies and TV presents, is that, fire you can still see. Well, that's why we encourage people, and us ourselves, we try to stay as low as we can, because the smoke will rise, fill up a room, and then go back down to the floor area. But typically down at the floor is where you're going to have the most visibility. So that would probably be one, is that it's not very clear in a fire. Even the smallest of fire or smoldering fire is going to have a lot of smoke, so you're not going to be able to see very well. That's probably a big misconception just due to that. And it's not that big a deal, but if you ever are in that situation, just know, I'm not going to be able to see that well. The lower I go, hopefully the better I can see. Saving cats stuck up in trees, that doesn't really happen. I guess very occasionally it will. At a previous employer, we were called out for that once, and we couldn't even get a ladder close to where we needed to, so we just put a can of cat food at the bottom of the tree, and the cat came down and was gone when we drove by, half hour later. So, yeah. That's probably a huge misconception. Some of the things medically that they do on those shows wouldn't actually be in our scope of practice, but there are a lot of emergency skills that we do use. So, have no fear. If you saw Chicago fire, we're not going to stick a needle into your heart, okay? We're not going to do that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of things that we can do.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I forgot about the cat thing, but that used to be growing up.
That
was like the most common thing.
But
going to save a cat or a dog.
If we have to, we will.
Yeah. So what are some preventative, or in general, if a homeowner is going to ask you, what are some things I should do to be home safe from fires, or what are some recommendations?
There are obviously a lot of things out there. Smoke detectors is probably one of the biggest issues, and it's been something that the fire service has tried to address for a long time, but it's still a prevalent issue. Smoke detectors in every bedroom, one on every floor. You even want a carbon monoxide detector probably by your furnace or any gas appliances that you may have. That's something that you want to change the batteries on a regular basis too. Easiest way to remember that is at daylight savings, when you're turning the clocks back, change the battery. When you're springing forward, change the batteries. Just easy reminders with that. Another big push lately, and there's a lot of sweet scientific evidence behind this, is a push. It's called close before you doze. So you want to close your bedroom door for when you go to sleep. So if a fire happens somewhere in your house, you're actually very well protected. There's a great eye-opening video put out by I believe it's the Underwriters Lab, UL Fire Safety. If you just search close before you doze on YouTube, it's going to be the first video, and it shows you a comparison between two bedrooms identically set up, one with the door closed, one with the door open, and they set a fire down in the living room of this mock house that they built. The room that has the door open obviously has a lot of smoke damage, pretty bad. The one with the door closed looks pretty much spotless. So it's very eye-opening, and it's something that everybody in the fire station, as we talk to people about, we close all our doors. Maybe even with your kid, that's kind of a scary thought. It might be hard for them, but over time you can kind of help them get adjusted to it, because it can make a huge difference. And they're actually crediting some different saves in the fire service now due to people closing their door before they doze. So that's another big deal.
Yeah, and then one thing too that the fire department has always encouraged too is the have an family escape plan.
Yes, family escape plan, 2 ways out. That's kind of
2 ways.
That's the motto with that thank you for bringing that up.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, most bedrooms, one way out would be through your door, and then down the hall, outside, and then your other typical route would be the window.
Yeah.
That's how we look at it too. If we're in a situation where we're in trouble, we're always trying to be situationally aware. Doors aren't the only means of egress. A window is a great means of egress
Mm-hmm.
too. So
yeah.
Keep that in mind when you're making those plans. It's probably not going to be your first choice, but
yeah.
It is definitely a good option.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. Yeah, my wife saw that close before you doze, and that's been a really eye-opening thing. We saw those photos, and we might include that in here, just a few photos of that. But it's very fascinating. I mean, it literally looks like
it's
very minimal damage, and then
huge difference.
Huge thing. So well, kind of a random question I have to ask. My son Bo is 4.
Yes.
Do you have a Dalmatian at your fire? Does every fire station have a Dalmatian?
So, kind of.
Oh, okay.
In Urbandale, we have a Dalmatian statue on our stations.
Uh-huh.
At our other station, we have, or at least at times, we've had a stuffed animal Dalmatian that rides on the fire truck.
Mm-hmm.
Windsor Heights actually has a Dalmatian, a real dog.
Okay,
Dalmatian.
yeah.
It's kind of the station dog and does PR events. Dalmatians are around in different fashions and forms. But the history there.
Yeah, I was going to ask, what's the history?
Is back in the day when fire pumps were on wagons and they're, horse and wagon show kind of going on. The Dalmatians would protect the horses, but also clear the intersections up ahead for the horses to be able to safely get through. So it was like the Dalmatian was a protection dog for the horses.
So I've heard that they're a little bit more an aggressive breed, like loyal aggressive breed. So they're literally like barking and going ahead.
Yeah, they protect the horses and kind of go ahead and kind of clear intersections, so to speak, I think was the idea and the concept.
Yeah.
Not old enough to say I've seen it, been part of it, but
Well, Marshall from Paw Patrol does a great job.
The Marshall, he's a great rescue dog. There's no doubt.
He's a great rescue dog. Yeah, that's right. Well, thank you so much for joining us this week. I really appreciate sitting down and shedding more light on what you do each day. And thank you for your service and how you rush to help people and during these crazy accidents or fires, things like that. So thank you so much for joining us this week. And again, David Langley with Urbandale Fire Station.